All right, we're back. If you watched episode 1 of this series, I welcome you to episode 2. And if you didn't watch episode 1, I don't think you really missed anything. I'm just going through, this is just a retrospective where I go through a old fanfic of mine that I started back in high school and that is continuing to this day. And I more or less, critique, mistakes that I made back then and also just kind of make fun of myself. So anyway, this is chapter 2 of 81 chapters for this story. I will admit that obviously as time goes on, I think I'll have less criticism because I'll be catching up more and more with my current self. And so, it'll feel awkward making fun of something that I wrote like the week before. But for at least the first 40, I would actually probably say the first 60 chapters, I have plenty of stuff to work with because I actually wrote the first 60 chapters, I think, all prior to 2013. And then after 2013, life caught up with me. I graduated college, got a full-time job, started a family. And so I've only written about 20 chapters in the last decade. So I would say probably the first 50 to 60 chapters are all fair game because they were all written at least 10 years ago. So, and my writing style has drastically changed and I at least hope improved in that time period. But so here we are in chapter 2 and the chapter's title is A Master's Journey. Of course, I put my my author's notes here at the beginning and I have more at the end. I don't really see anything interesting up here or cringy up here, so we'll just move on down. Then it starts off. Oh, of course, as always now, apparently fanfiction.net has ads right in the middle of every story, which is actually super annoying. It was not like this back in the late aughts, I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen. But apparently now, if you're wanting to go to, it looks like New Zealand, there are some really good tickets available on getyourguide.com. So this video is not sponsored by Get Your Guide, but I guess they're going to get some free advertising anyway. So hello, asked an almost middle-aged woman who is tiredly rubbing her eyes. It was almost midnight, but her sluggish attitude quickly brightened when she saw the smiling face on the monitor. Hey, Ma. I don't know why Ma's not capitalized there. That's kind of stupid because he's obviously calling her that as her name, so it should be a proper noun and capitalized. Exclaimed Ash. That's something I get rid of later. Probably for the first 50 to 60 chapters, like I was just talking about. For some reason, I always put who was saying, what the person was doing when they talked. I had to say, hey, said Ash. Hi, said Misty. And later on, I kind of realized you don't need to do that. Through context clues, the audience is going to figure out who's saying what most of the time. And just repeating the word said over and over again is pretty tiring and taxing on the reader unnecessarily. But of course, this was 2009. Cheeky's boy who did not know any better. He was grateful his mom was where he guessed. So you see what happened tonight? I guess that kind of works. I give him, so did you? I think Ash would talk like that, maybe. So did you see that? Anyway, of course, honey. There's no comma between the of course and honey, which was a mistake. Also, why wasn't his mom in the stand? Anyway, you're absolutely amazing in battle. Oak couldn't quit telling me how impressed he was with your abilities. Yeah, and why wasn't Oak? Don't they always show up for his battles? I think they did. I mean, I know they did in the Indigo League and the Johto Silver Conference, but maybe I don't know. That's weird. I didn't have them actually at his battle. And everyone kept agreeing with him. I ended up having to shut them up because I couldn't hear what the announcer was saying on the television. That is not Delia. That does not sound like her at all, having to shut them up. I don't know. Like I said, I had a real problem with voicing characters as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old. I always gave people the voices of people that I knew, so I think I was probably putting my mom's voice in there for Delia, but that's not what she talks like. She's obviously a very soft-spoken woman. At this point, she was interrupted with the unison of "Haze!" all caps, triple exclamation marks, in the background. Ash, of course, immediately knew who those people were. Once again, no comma before or after the "of course," and it needed a comma before and after. We were not that loud, Delia. Yeah, Mrs. Ketchum. As a matter of fact, I recall you couldn't stop squealing after Pikachu took down that Garchomp. I kind of regret not actually writing the battle for Ash and Cynthia. It sounds like a really cool battle. I would like to have seen that. Although I guess now in the new anime episodes, Ash does take down Cynthia, right? In the I forget what it's called, the champions match thing, where he just became a Pokemon master basically, and it's a bracket with all the different champions of the different regions, and he takes down Cynthia, I know, at one point. So I guess we finally got that battle, but I wish I had written that. Ash couldn't help but smile as he realized the entire gang must still have been at Professor Oak's house waiting for his call. However, along with happiness, he also felt a pang of remorse. He really wished they could have come out to see him in the match. Oh, maybe I'll explain why they didn't. He figured friends and family would be given top priority for seating arrangements, but as it turned out, the second the news spread that Cynthia had a new challenger, tickets evaporated instantly. Okay, I'm calling BS on that. If I really wanted to make this realistic, which I did, tickets aren't just going to sell out miraculously. Like, there's going to be box seats and suites and things like that. Like, in the last chapter, I was just talking about how I was trying to make this world more realistic and kind of equate the Pokemon League to, like, the NFL in the U.S. But if that was the case, you don't have, like, the quarterback of the Cowboys not able to bring his wife and kids to the game, right? Because there's always reserved seating somewhere. But whatever. He was only given 2 tickets by the league, and while Brock and Dawn both understood if he wanted his mom instead of them, his mom would hear none of it. "They've been with you throughout your time in Sinnoh, dear. It just wouldn't be right for me to take their tickets," his mom had replied when he had hesitantly suggested taking Dawn's seat and giving it to her. Oh my gosh, dude. You do not need to go into this much detail about it. I could have literally cut it off right there. He was only given 2 tickets by the league, and while Brock and Dawn both understood, his mom would hear none of it. I could have just ended it there. Frankly, I don't even think I needed that much. I could have just ended it as a new challenger, tickets evaporated instantly, and ended the sentence, the whole paragraph there. But anyway, whatever. He knew she was right, but wished there was another way. I can't freaking scroll. I hate my mouse. Oh, "Hey, Ash," exclaimed Tracy, knocking Ash out of his thoughts. Oh, and by the way, there's another ad for Get Your Guide, so if you missed the links up above, you can get your guide to why Mangu Volcanic Valley tickets and Mita Maori Village tickets here. Anyway, "Hey, Ash," exclaimed Tracy, knocking Ash out of his thoughts and bringing his attention back to the monitor. "I just wanted to say you did a great job. I think that was the best match I've seen in a long time." Okay, I'll give myself credit here. That's actually a good example, I think, of using a sentence break to explain what a character's doing when they're talking. "Hey, Ash," exclaimed Tracy by itself would be pointless. You could just say, "Hey, Ash." But then, exclaimed Tracy, knocking Ash out of his thoughts, although I would have said reverie now, but in bringing his attention back to the monitor. Like, if there's a secondary purpose in drawing attention to the fact that a certain person is talking, then I think it's worth doing. And here I did just that. "Yeah!" 3 exclamation points, shouted Misty from behind Tracy. The instant Ash saw her, he felt himself blush slightly. Uh-oh. Foreshadowing, guys. That's foreshadowing. That was so cool how Bulbasaur evolved right in the middle of that match with Melodic. In my opinion, it was pretty obvious you had the win after that. Boy, sure wish I could have read about this amazing battle instead of just reading about the after effects. "Thanks," Ash replied to all of them. "Yeah, I'm glad it finally happened. I mean, I didn't want him to evolve before he was ready, but he seemed very prepared when it happened. And did you see how quickly he shot off that solar beam immediately after it happened? Oh my gosh, no one talks like this. Like, this is like 3 or 4 sentences in a row, and he's talking to like a room full of people. He'd be interrupted every other word. I think he'll be even more useful than he was before, if that's possible." I don't think Ash would say that. He wouldn't call one of his Pokemon more useful. He thinks of them as his friends, right? Kind of misses the point of Ash. Once again, that was me talking, not him. "Yeah, I know," Mystery replied. Oh, no comment after the "I know." Boo. Poor grammar. Having shoved everyone else away from the monitor. "But I hope you remember the coach that got you where you are today," she hinted in a not-so-subtle way. Oh, not so subtle. Yeah, that's idiotic. "Of course, how could I ever forget Brock?" Ash replies teasingly, earning himself a vicious glare from Misty. Okay, there's an example where you don't need that. I could have just said, "Of course, how could I ever forget Brock?" And then, this, and then just ended the sentence there, and then a new sentence and said, "This earned a vicious glare from Misty," or a semi-vicious glare from Misty. However, the smile quickly returned as Pikachu eagerly jumped onto Ash's shoulder, waving at the image of Misty on the monitor. "Speaking of evolving, you think you're almost ready, Pikachu?" Never. It never happens, Misty. And I will say that personally, I'm very disappointed about that. Raichu is my number 1 favorite Pokemon, and I was always very annoyed by that Lieutenant Surge episode back in the first season of the show, of the anime, when Pikachu knocks the Thunderstone out of Ash's hand and decides not to evolve. That was a deeply disappointing moment for me. She asked teasingly, already knowing the answer. "Pika!" Like he's just screaming it. All caps, 3 exclamation marks. Pikachu just told her to F off, I guess. Shouted Pikachu loudly while shaking his head almost off his shoulders. Does Pikachu have shoulders? I guess. I don't know. Ash could tell that after that victory, Pikachu would probably never consider evolution again, because Pikachu's a creationist. After all, he was strong enough to single-handedly defeat a Garchomp, so who needed to evolve? I don't think the italics were necessary. Let's see here. What else we got? Oh, wow. 2 Get Your Guide ads. Whew. Let me talk for once, shouted Gary as he shoved Misty off the screen. So, Ashy boy, feel pretty good now, huh? The rivalry between Ash and Gary had pretty much officially ended when Gary quit training and began going to the Marlin Institute of Natural Science to get his degree in Pokemon Research and Studies. Well, why wouldn't Pokemon Research and Studies all be capitalized if that's a degree program? Anyway, however, he and Ash both seemed to feel like their rivalry would never really go away. It was hard to shake off that mixed feeling of camaraderie and animosity that the two had developed for each other ever since they met as kids. That's all fine and well, but boy, like, show, don't tell, dude. Like, I didn't need to, like, vomit up all that exposition right there. I could have naturally sprinkled it in through their conversation. And we'll see. Maybe I do sprinkle it in the conversation, but then that exposition right there was just not necessary. Yeah, Gare Bear, replied Ash mockingly. He's never called him that. I just wanted him to have a nickname for Gary. Hey, I told you never to call me that, yelled Gary into the screen as he watched Ash smirk. Yeah, and I told you never to call me Ashy Boy, but I guess life goes on, right? Hey, it's a miracle. I didn't end a sentence of dialogue with Ash said. Whatever, I just wanted to say congratulations, but remember that you'll have to go through me to reach your dream. Ash wondered silently what he could have meant by that. Wasn't this his dream, to be a champion of one of the regions? Yeah, I guess so. Sure, whatever, Gary, Ash said, flipping him off, flippantly, as he tried to maintain his air of coolness and not let Gary's words provoke his curiosity any longer. Go on back to your textbooks now. I guess Ash might say that. He's kind of an idiot, so he might make fun of someone for actually learning. Yeah, well, just remember that you're going to college, too. 2 years tops, cried his mother from somewhere in the back. Honestly, I feel like the college subplot, and we'll get more into this later, I feel like the college subplot was a completely unnecessary and just kind of takes... I mean, like, I get that I'm applying the anime and trying to bring it into the real world somewhat, but, I mean, has Ash ever shown any I don't know, inclination for higher education or even just lower education? Like, I don't really think so. I think maybe I could have just dropped that. And I get more to the college stuff later. But, of course, once again, I was writing from my vantage point as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, taking the... I just said in the last chapter, I'd just taken the SAT and all that. So that was what was on my mind. So, of course, it has to be on Ash's mind, too. Let's see. Yeah, Ma, I know. Oh, I actually capitalized Ma there, he said while rolling his eyes. She really wanted him to get an education. And truth be told, oh my gosh, I feel an exposition dump coming on. And truth be told, he kind of wanted one too. Throughout his journey, he basically had to homeschool himself on the road, and the Kanto school system, KSS, would send him his quarterly tests to see if he was eligible to continue his journey. What had happened to many trainers was that they would be so preoccupied with their training they would not study, and when the KSS got their grades, they were immediately banned from traveling for 1 year. However, despite his dense demeanor, he did very well on most of his tests. History was a problem, and was bound to graduate from the high school system in about a year. With this championship under his belt, he was sure to be a millionaire with all the advertising agencies and the books and the speeches and the television shows he would be involved in, but he knew that would not deter his mother from him getting a good education at her alma mater of University of Kanto in Viridian. So there you see me trying to world build, clumsily trying to world build. I was trying to explain, like, how could you, because that is obviously a major plot hole in the anime, right? How do you, like, as a 10-year-old just leave how do you just leave home and, like, that's it? Like, you're just, like, you never go back to school, you never get a proper education, you just go off and fight animals for the rest of your life? Like, didn't make the most sense to me. So I was trying to figure out a way, like, where these kids could get edumacated, and at the same time continue their Pokemon journeys. And so I created this idea of the KSS, right? Like, where, like, kids can basically homeschool themselves while on the road. It's not a horrible idea. I mean, like, to, make it a little bit more realistic and to address one of the glaring plot holes that everyone mentions when they talk about Pokemon. Oh, haha, you're 10 and you're on your own. Not horrible, but just I don't know. The problem is I don't know if there was any good place to put that. But I think there was, because now that I'm rereading this, and once again, this is helpful to reread it, I forgot that I had him still a year away from graduating, quote-unquote, graduating high school, which, once again, puts him pretty much spot on where I was at in life at that point. So I actually probably would have had a better place to put this exposition than right here in chapter 2. I could have, since he still had a year to go, like, I could have had a chapter where a chapter start where he's doing some schoolwork and he's kind of just offhandedly talking about how he's close to graduating this school system. Instead, it's just a full paragraph of dense, backstory or world building that doesn't really belong. Anyway, so here Oak says, "Well, Ash, I know you're tired, so we'll let you go for now," said Professor Oak. "Yeah, don't talk to any of the other people in this room or talk to your mom. I'm going to call it now," which I guess does kind of feed into the theory that Oak and Ash's mom are hooking up. Maybe he's like, "Hey, let's get this kid off the phone. I got to get back." But anyway, "Kay, thanks, Professor, and thanks to all of you for helping me get here. I know I couldn't be the Sinnoh champ without the encouragement of everyone in that house. Except maybe for Gary," he said humorously. Good. Okay, so we know that he was saying that humorously, because otherwise I would have thought he was completely serious. Also, I forgot to capitalize champ, Sinnoh champ. It's a proper noun. It's a title. You idiot. Anyway, smart Alec, mumbled Gary. Okay. "Oh, and dear, you'll be home in a few days, right?" asked his mom excitedly at the monitor. Yeah, what else? Where else is she asking? Was she asking the wall? That was completely unnecessary. "Sure will. We're taking the SS Anthony from Sinnoh to Johto, where we're spending one day at Disney." Oh, there's Disney again. "And then we'll get to the house by foot from that point. Should only take a week, or maybe even less time if we hoof it." I don't know if Ash would say hoof it. That's kind of a strange term to hear. Oh my gosh, I get one line of actual story between two ads. Anyone want to go to the shoe station? "Okay, then you be good and sleep late tomorrow. You more than deserve it." Yeah, I guess she would say that. She's sweet, right? "Congratulations!" everyone roared in the house, and Ash thanked them once more before hanging up the phone. I just I feel like it's unnecessary that he gets off the phone so abruptly. I could have just I didn't have to record every single conversation he had with everybody in that room, but I could have just kind of wand waved it and been like, Ash talked for 20 more minutes with everybody before getting off the, something like that. Instead, he talks to 3 people, and then Professor Oak's like, "Get the hell off my phone." Ash thanked him once more before hanging up the phone. He turned back towards the bed to see Pikachu already asleep, the lazy piece. As he climbed in to join his slumbering buddy, he thanked God he had such great family and friends. Then scene break, which is unnecessary here, because I say the next few days flew by. I mean, I literally didn't need a scene break. I could have just continued. The next few days flew by. I handled the passage of time. There was no need for it. Ash, Dawn, and Brock all had a great time at Disney World, where they rode every ride. And Brock hit on every girl in sight. Yeah, I wonder how that all worked out. I'm curious. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder how the Disney movies would have worked out if you had in the Pokemon world. Certainly, some of them had to have been different, right? Anyway, however, the unfortunate end of their journey loomed over them throughout the week, and by the time they reached New Barktown, everyone was a little down in spirit. Okay, that's fine. "Well, I suppose this is goodbye," Dawn said hesitantly. She really wished this wasn't happening right now. If only she was more interested in battling than in contests. Yeah, if only she could change the one character trait I knew about her to something more fitting. "It's only goodbye for now," Ash said in a desperately hopeful tone. He too was very down about the departure, but he knew it was in Dawn's best interest. "Listen, I've had to leave behind lots of friends before. Let me just list them all right now. Misty, Tracy, May, Max, and even Brock. But it's never been goodbye forever. I'll catch you real soon. Who knows, we may end up traveling together sometime." "That's true," squealed Dawn, trying to sound optimistic, but in her heart she knew that was unlikely. She wished she could explain what she was feeling. It was stronger than friendship, she knew that much, but she couldn't believe that it was what she was imagining. Could it? Uh-oh, more foreshadowing. As she fought back tears, she began to turn away from Ash and Brock. "Well, then I'll see you a little later, Ash. You too, Brock." Okay, should have been a comma after later and again after the two before Brock. "We'll miss you, Dawn," Brock yelled as she walked away. He admitted this felt strange. He and Dawn were good friends, but he couldn't help but feel that she wasn't as upset about leaving him as she was Ash. Yeah, I guess. "I'll call you when I get to Cherry Grove tomorrow," Dawn exclaimed as she turned around. She faintly heard the mutter reply, and she turned back and headed west. "Maybe this separation time will give me a chance to think about what I'm feeling. Yeah, that's it. Next time I see you, Ash Ketchum, I think things will be a little different." She thought this as she continued west and began to ponder her and Ash's relationship. I'm fine with the first headed west. Don't really like the second one because, like, what is like? Is she like a? Is she like Gandalf or something? Like, is she sailing off to the west? Like, it's a weird use of cardinal direction twice to talk about where she's going. I don't even think I needed that entire last sentence. I could have had her little inner monologue and just cut it off there. She thought this as she continued west. No, we all thought she abruptly turned north. Like, who cares? Next scene break. Woo! So Brock, you think we'll make pallet by tomorrow? Inquired Ash. Wow, this is a longer chapter than I knew. Well, I gotta drink some water. That's some good water. All right. So Brock, you think we'll make pallet by tomorrow? Inquired Ash as he sat in the Viridian Poke Center. No accent over the E in Poke Center for some reason. Heck, we'll probably make it before noon if we leave at 8, replied Brock. I want to have plenty of rest before I see everyone, so let's make it 10, all right? Fine, fine. Whoa, Brock was suddenly thrown off his guard as Nurse Joy sauntered past them. Should have put a hyphen between off and guard. Anyway, actually, Brock only thought she was sauntering. In reality, she was very tired and getting ready to lock up for the night, not noticing the two young men talking in the Poke Center's diner. Ash, I'm going to have to go take care of some business real quick. Order a coffee or something till I get back. No thanks, I'm good. I'm hitting the sack. Oh, okay then. See you bright and early at 8. 10. Fine, whatever, Brock mumbled as he glided towards the young nurse. Yeah. Well, I kept Brock in character. I'll give myself credit for that. Ash figured he had never stopped Brock from hitting on women before. Someone else had always done it. So he decided against stopping his hormonally crazed friend right now. Besides, he was tired and he didn't need Brock in a bad mood in the morning. As he walked into his room, he decided to get a shower in the morning. He simply wanted to get in bed. The day had been tiring emotionally from leaving behind a good friend. I don't need that. You don't need that parentheses. I just explained like 3 paragraphs ago why it was emotionally exhausting. Whatever. From leaving behind a good friend, and physically, as they had walked at least 20 miles to get from New Bark down to Viridian. I don't know if I was thinking clearly on that. 20 miles in a day? I mean, like, it's certainly doable, but, like, assuming you just, like, have a normal walking pace of, 3 miles per hour, which is a pretty standard, strut for a grown man, at least. Like, I mean, that means you walked for 7 hours straight. I guess that's not including breaks or anything like that. That's a rough day. As he got into his pajamas, he noticed something in his bag, the box. He had completely forgotten about it until, the box that Cynthia gave him. The exhaustion gone from his body, he quickly searched in the pockets of his recently discarded jeans, hoping against hope that the key was still there. Eureka! He exclaimed joyfully. Okay, Ash would never say Eureka. Joyfully as he felt the small metal object between his fingers. Quit going into so much detail about this key. First it's in your pocket, now it's a small metal object between your fingers. It's just a key, dude. Drop it. Now I understood why Cynthia had kept it on a necklace the whole time. His fingers almost trembling, he placed the key inside the locket of the small gray box. It popped open after the key had been turned 3 times, and inside Ash saw a small folded piece of notebook paper. He opened it up and read the contents. Ash, get good. No. Ash, if you are reading this letter, then congratulations. You beat me in what was surely a stupendous battle. I am sure that we both tried our hardest. I know I did. And that the battle was not an easy one. As the champion of Sinnoh... As the champion of Sinnoh, you have only one obligation, to battle anyone who challenges your right to this grand title with all your heart. However, I know that is not your ultimate goal. How does everyone know his ultimate goal except Ash? It's not? Ash thought as he looked up from the paper. How stupid. I mean, I guess. I don't know. I'm just being mean about my own character, but he was the champion of an entire continent. Okay, so now Sinnoh's a continent. Before I said it was a country, but now it's a continent. I don't know. I mean, I guess it could, right? I know the shape of it looks like, technically, it could be its own thing, right? It could be like the Australia of the Pokemon world. Although I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but what more could he want? He continued reading. No, I know from a very reliable source, your mother, that your goal is to become a Pokemon master. This is a very ambitious goal. The current master, whom I'm sure you already know a great deal about, has not been challenged in 20 years, and as once again I'm sure you already know, the challenger lost. Do you know why this is? It's because he is indeed the master. Yeah, that does track. Anyone who wishes to become a master has a lot of work ahead of them. After all your travels and all that preparation, by defeating me, you have only begun your master journey. The following are the secret league guidelines for becoming a Pokemon master. Become a regional champion in any of the 4 continents. If one is attempting to attain master rank and loses a championship battle, they will immediately be disqualified for nomination. I should mention here, in any of the 4 continents, so that means I make Kanto, Johto, Sinnoh, and Hoenn all their own continents. And also, I only say 4 continents because this was written in 2009, before Gen 5. So, to my knowledge at that time, there was only 4 regions. So, they're their own countries and their own continents and their own Pokemon League. So, anyway, that's the world those are the parameters of the world we're inhabiting. I don't even really blame myself for that one because I could not anticipate what was going to happen, what was going to come after. The only way to try for the title again is by reclaiming champion status over the region they lost. Capture every Pokemon, excluding legendary types. Whether a Pokemon is indeed legendary or not will be decided upon by the Pokemon League Board annually, or in rare emergency sessions of the PLB. Defeat a trainer of equal or higher merit than the trainer hoping to attain master rank. Another trainer attempting to attain said rank can be deemed eligible. Whether or not a trainer is of merit will be decided by the PLB when the case arises. Defeat the current Pokemon Master in a 6-on-6 battle. Whether the battle will be broadcast, witnessed, or completely private can be decided upon by the aspiring Master. Okay, I forgot that I made that little rule there about whether it will be private or broadcasted. That's actually important for an upcoming chapter I'm working on. So I should probably mention that. Anyway, remember, you cannot share these rules with anyone. I know what you're thinking right now because it's the same thing I wondered for a long time. Why can't everyone know the rules? The truth is that the board has believed for several decades now that if a trainer is really capable of master rank, then he or she will eventually become a champion and earn the right to know the guidelines. Okay, this is stupid, and it's something that I regret. This is actually one of my primary regrets in the early world building stage of this story that I made. This is one of my biggest regrets from that period, is that I made it secret for some reason, the rules for becoming a master secret, because then I kind of have to hand wave away how Ash can tell, later on his friends, right, Misty and Brock and stuff like that, and his mom. Pretty much everyone in the story, by the end of the story, knows these guidelines, so I shouldn't have made them secret in the first place. It was really dumb of me. I do not know why. It adds nothing to the story, and it has honestly hindered me. And if I ever do go back and make kind of like a remastered version of this story where I go through and make these edits that I'm pointing out that I wish I had made at the time, that is going to be one of the big things I take out, because it barely comes up. Like, in the next few chapters, I address that it's supposed to be secret and stuff like that, but over the years, I've kind of just... this has been on purpose. It's not because I forgot. It's a purposeful plot hole. I've just kind of ignored that rule because it's such a hindrance and does nothing. And it's like, how would that be secret? That's so stupid. Like, how you become a Pokemon Master, you have the highest ranking Pokemon trainer in the whole world, and no one knows how you actually do that. That seems super sketch, right? There's no way that would remain secret for decades. Anyway, also between you and me, I think they like to have their own little secret. The PLB is such a boring organization, you know? Well, anyway, as you can guess, I too received these instructions, but I never tried my hand at becoming a master, mainly because I have other interests, but also because it sounds really hard. That's a bit of a run-on sentence. I completely understand if you receive this letter and decide against it. I mean, really, champion rank is a lifetime title, even if you're defeated at some point, and frankly, I'm very happy with it. However, if you choose to follow the path of a true master, then know I am rooting for you all the way and will help in whatever ways I can. Sincerely, Cynthia. Alright. As Ash finished the letter, he could not believe that he had forgotten his original goal. Before he left home, he had promised himself that one day he would be a Pokemon master. Yet somehow, seemed to fall to the wayside as he got sidetracked by what he now thought of as a desperate attempts to win random battles and raising several Pokemon. Yet somehow, that seemed to fall to the wayside as he got sidetracked. Desperate attempts to win random battles and raising several Pokemon. I don't think Ash would think that. I don't like that characterization. Oh, I wasted all my time. I was supposed to become a Pokemon master, but instead I just wasted time raising several random Pokemon. Like, they're his friends, right? Like, that's a mischaracterization. And it's not the last. Suddenly, all of those victories, all of that knowledge seemed minuscule. He would have to start... I do understand that. I do kind of like the scale of, like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I thought I peaked here as champion, but there's a whole other mountain to climb. But I just don't like him acting like raising the Pokemon was just, like, this inconvenience or this distraction, you know? He would have to start a whole new journey. Oh, that's the name of the story. And catch every Pokemon. That was going to be hard. But there was one thing he knew. He was going to do it all. I don't know if that's I think I should have used a colon, not a semicolon there, but I was down back then. Because a semicolon is whenever you have two independent clauses. You use a semicolon when you have two independent clauses within a sentence and you want to separate them. A colon is when you have a dependent clause, when you have a Yeah. When you have a dependent clause hanging off of an independent clause. Well, no. I'm trying to remember the exact definition. Semicolon is definitely when you have two independent clauses, but then you use a colon if the words following the colon is dependent upon what precedes it. So, anyway, probably should have used a colon there. But whatever. Author's note. Well, I hope everyone appreciated the slight hint of pokey shipping I added in the chapter. Yeah, it was slight. Trust me, there's a lot more later on, so let's consider this a chapter. Oh, foreshadowing of things to come. I said it. Has a lot of hints. This chapter has a lot of hints. If you read in between the lines, dude, you don't have to read in between the lines. It's it's laid pretty bare for the reader about where I plan on taking this fic later on. So make sure you didn't miss anything. I wouldn't mind hearing your predictions if you have any. However, mere praise is good enough. Ha ha. Oh my gosh, just say LOL. Okay, I'll take criticism too. If it seemed like I rushed a little bit, that's because I did slightly. I am very excited about the next chapter. I did not want to drag out the goodbyes in the Disney thing, or it would have taken me at least 2 more chapters. Besides, I think the goodbye is more realistic, short, especially considering how Dawn's feeling right now. Like that she has the hots for him. Yeah. Anyway, please review. I am going to my grandmother's retirement ceremony this next Friday in Dallas. As some of you know, I live in Italy. Yeah, I used to live in Italy. So I will be very busy this week between the jet lag and the catching up with relatives, blah, blah. Chapter 4 will be up. Wow. Look at that. I'll have Chapter 3 up no later than May 29th, and no matter what, Chapter 4 will be up May 31st. Wow, that's a far cry from my once, like, every 3-month update schedule I'm on now. But there you go. P.S. Please review. All right. So all in all, not a horrible chapter, but again, a lot of cringy stuff. More just cringy stuff. Like the plot's not cringy yet. It does get cringy, trust me. But right now, it's more cringy. Just like my writing style is very cringy. Just unnecessary. Just a lot of unnecessary exposition. Right. Right there, I'm just looking at it right here. He exclaimed joyfully as he felt a small metal object between his fingers. Oh my gosh, dude, shut up. But otherwise, okay chapter. Looking forward to see what happens next. Can't wait for this party that they're going to be throwing for him in Pallet Town. So I guess we'll be covering... Actually, I think that's what we're covering next. Let's look real quick. What's chapter 3 called? Chapter 3 is called The Journey Home. Okay, so I think that's... No, the party's chapter 4. So I actually don't remember what happens in chapter 3. So anyway, we'll talk about that next chapter. I enjoyed doing this a few days ago, and I had some time after work. I got home early from work, and I decided I would go ahead and record another one of these episodes while the family was out. So hope you all enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, bye.